Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sonic Comic Chaos. I am your host, Silver1, and joining me as always is my co-host, Ian Waffles. Ian, say hi.
Hello.
Now, today we are starting a new segment I would like to call, Hey, what's going on in IDW? And by segment, I mean it will last the entire episode. So, here's the thing. So, today we are reading IDW Sonic numbers 51 through 56. We are picking up where we left off when we did our last IDW discussion about 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, we should probably do a couple of these so people don't have to wait as long.
Well, we'll figure it out. We'll see how if people like this one. But so, and the thing is, if you've been following me for a while, you would know that I basically built this channel off of IDW. And so I have a kind of weird love-hate relationship with it, you know. And if you watch that last IDW review I did, which I haven't in a while, but you can hear my brain like physically like fracture in that video. Just because I was struggling so hard to say anything about like individual issues of this comic. And then again, about 2 years ago, we did our discussion on, from where I left off to issue 50, including some miniseries like Bad Guys and what was the Imposter Syndrome? Yep. So, but today we're picking up where we left off with 51 to 56. Now, when I was reading this, I was thinking, how am I going to approach this? Because I don't want this to just be, hey, let's come in and shit on IDW. Because we have it's been no secret, we've made IDW a punching bag on our show. We've basically turned the word IDW into a slur.
It can join the ranks of Sonic slurs.
Yeah. And there's no point if we're just getting that last IDW video we did, very fun. We had a lot of fun doing it, but I don't think we went into it with the best of intentions. I think it
was very bad faith.
We went into it with,
I love it, but it's very funny. Especially like my Starline rant. I still go back to that because I'm just amazed that I had that much rage in me. But some of my points were a bit skewed, but no less funny. But I agree with you where just even myself coming into this, I'm like, I don't really have the energy to like be mad at IDW anymore. I would rather just talk about it, and just like see what comes of that.
Yeah, certainly. And so I was thinking, like, how am I going to approach this? When I was reading it. And so let me tell you all a story. When I was about 18, so about 5 years ago, I went on a cruise with my family. And when we got on the cruise, there was this bit where they were like, oh, all right, your rooms aren't ready, so go into like the dining hall, order off the menu, we'll give you something. And it was a lot of like fancy schmancy food, not a lot of things I eat, but I saw they had a cheeseburger on there. And I was like, all right, I'll get this cheeseburger, whatever. And I get it. And this cheeseburger had like aged beef and some kind of like special cheese. And it was the greatest thing I've ever eaten.
Oh.
It was immaculate. I would pay an exorbitant amount of money to eat another one of these cheeseburgers. It was so good. But, eventually I came home. Obviously, I'm not recording this from a boat. And I went to my local McDonald's and I got a 1/4 pounder cheeseburger with bacon. And now here's the thing, right? Obviously, there's no comparing those two. Obviously, the one I had on the boat with the aged beef and the special cheese was way better, right? But that doesn't change the fact that 1/4 pounder does the job when you just want some greasy, instant gratification. You just eat it and you feel and sometimes it's bad. Sometimes you eat it and it gives you like diarrhea. Sometimes you eat it.
This is an amazing backhanded compliment.
And you're hunched over the toilet at 3 a.m. and you're thinking about the fact like, man, I'm entering my mid-20s. I should really stop eating all these fucking cheeseburgers. Eventually my metabolism is going to catch up to me. I should really stop, but you don't stop. And you know why? Because you don't want to stop. And I really hope everyone gets where I'm going with this analogy by this point.
Which is that you're addicted to Sonic and IDW is something, I guess.
I really hope this is the stalwart defense all the IDW fans who clicked on this was hoping for.
Trying to steel man your argument here, and it's not working.
Well, no, my point. Okay, here's to spell it out a bit clear, right? Is that in case it wasn't clear, Archie pre-boot Flynn Archie is the aged beef cheeseburger, and IDW is the quarter pounder from McDonald's, right? And that is that those Archie pre-boot stories, like, are the reason I'm a Sonic fan. Those are the things that got their hooks in me. I mean, so many of those stories, and we'll discover this as we do the podcast, I haven't read in almost a decade. But if you, before we did the podcast, like, I hadn't read so many of them in so long. But even before that, if you asked me, like, hey, what's your favorite Sonic thing? I would say pre-boot Archie Sonic. And there's a reason for that. It's because it really left an impact on me. Whereas this is like, hey, Whisper and Surge fight, and that's pretty fucking cool, right?
Yeah, Adam Bryce Thomas is a good artist. That's pretty good.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is like if I may bring up my cheeseburger analogy again, sometimes you get a McDonald's cheeseburger and it's really fucking good, right?
Yeah,
like, and that's where the art, like some of the art in this, no notes, spectacular for like a lot of it, and even some story beats, pretty good. We'll get into them. But like ultimately, it's just not the same thing. Like those two cheeseburgers, the only thing that makes them the same is that they're both technically called cheeseburgers, and it's a very similar thing here. Like it's not even necessary.
What you're saying is like you're not proud of it, but you would eat Surge.
No.
All right, so issue 51.
I actually haven't pulled up the comic yet.
See, he's stalling. He's freaking out. He can't do it.
No. How did I know this is what was going to happen? How did I know? But, okay.
It's time. Do you have notes?
I do. Hold on. I got to pull up the comic.
I'm glad you have notes because,
I mean, I don't have a lot of notes. And I think that's what we're ultimately going to get into. Fuck. I think that's ultimately what we're going to get into. And part of the problem with, where did it go? Where did the comic go? There it is. Part of what the problem, what we're going to get into, and part of why I struggled so hard with reviewing these comics individually. And that is that, okay, issue 51, what happens? So I guess for a little recap, when we last left our heroes, Sonic fought Surge. She fell off some shit. They thought she was dead.
Fake news, not true.
Starland fell off a different thing after fighting Eggman. He's definitely dead. Yes. Or he didn't fall. Some shit fell on him, I think. Regardless, he's dead. Tails and Bell are in the city. They're all in this big Eggman city. It's real bad, and there's robots coming to get them. So in issue 51, they fight some robots. We get the infamous Big Oof, where Bell is like Starland's dead, and after Sonic went on this whole spiel about how he wants villains to be able to like be alive and be free to like live life. Well, Big Oof, I guess that idiot fucking died.
That's really funny. Well, and it's funny. So actually, it's funny too because obviously this was a big thing when it happened of like people talking about this, and Ian Flynn has brought up. He's like, well, I think this is just where like it was just lost in translation because he goes, in my head the way it was supposed to be is that like Sonic is supposed to be looking kind of like in my head when I wrote this down, it would be showing Sonic, and like that's kind of how I tried to describe it, is like showing Sonic, and Sonic saying Big Oof is supposed to be like, oh well, I guess it is what it is. Like he's not supposed to like it's not that he's like reveling in it. It's that he's just kind of like awkward about it. Like I don't know what to say. Oh well, bad guy lost, Big Oof. But because of the way the art was done, he is obscured and he's just got his arms crossed. So it's just looking at a crying Bell who's like, I watched someone die right in front of me, and Sonic's like, dude, that's hilarious. And so it comes across really bad.
Yep.
But that is what it is. Whatever. If you want to hear more of our thoughts on the morality stuff, we'll get to that later. But I mean, I completely agree. Like a lot of this issue is because ideally, right? The premise is that, oh man, now Sonic and Co. are trapped in the city. So how do they get out? And usually, what Flynn could do with that is he could use. This is where I think these issues are pretty darn weak. Is that you don't look at like you have this opening shot where it's got all these robots. Now, if I look at this for a sec. One of these robots is like the one from Sonic Heroes, where you need like either like fully powered Tails, or you need like Knuckles to like break it down, or you have the polar bear, and the polar bear you have to use like the spin, the combo spin or whatever, and then you have just like a bunch of fodder, right? So if I was looking at this, I'd be like, all right, well, they're perfectly fine. They can destroy all these things. Really, all they'd have to worry about is this big guy and the polar bear. And so I'm like, okay, I could, what could Flynn do with that? And the answer is nothing. All they fight, like they just vanish, those enemies or whatever, until like the very end. And yeah, Sonic, all he does is he just jumps on its head and it just like dies basically. It's like, oh well, I guess that thing wasn't very strong. Then he goes to like fight the polar bear. The polar bear swings and he just dodges, not a problem. And then he climbs up and Metal Sonic hits him or destroys their ship, and now they're down. So it's like Flynn and like the artists don't really take advantage of the fact that like you could do something with these recognizable enemies, because that's all these two issues are really, is just fan service of like, whoa, it's that thing from that Sonic game, and whoa, it's that thing from that Sonic game. And then there's a little bit of thing with Metal Sonic we'll get into, but it's supposed to just be action. It's action, and the action's boring because they don't do anything.
The action is, but it's very pretty. It's the thing, Like you have this panel where, so basically, sum up the issue, they try to escape the city, and they're about to escape on an Eggman ship, but then Metal Sonic blows up the ship, and Sonic's hurt, and everything sucks, and they're cornered. But there's like this panel where like the Metal Sonic and Sonic's like movements are like paralleled. Like that's pretty interesting. Like, also, yeah, there are polar bears. Are these polar bears from a Sonic game?
Yeah, it's from Sonic 4, Episode 2.
Oh, no one fucking... okay, so episode 2 is the good one, actually. Never mind. But
but yeah, like I just think it sucks that, like, for example, I see right here the Sonic Unleashed wind guys, and I'm just like, man, wouldn't it be really cool if like the wind guy, like Sonic's climbing up, and then that wind guy just like shoots a giant gust of wind, and Sonic obviously wouldn't see it coming because it's just wind, and then like he's kind of slightly thrown off from like grabbing onto Bell, and then it's like, oh man, like that Badnik like did something. But no, all the Badniks is just like, oh, they shoot. This one shoots big laser for literally 2 panels, and then we move on. We don't mention it ever again. There's the Motobug. There's a Buzz Bomber. It's sure is shooting lasers. There's a big crab meat. It is there. Like they just don't like. They just don't do anything creative with the action. And so sure, it like looks pretty in the sense that Adam Bryce Thomas is like good at drawing these characters, right? But like nothing's actually being done in this issue, like at all, with that creative, with the things they have in here. It is literally just Sonic running around.
No, and that's kind of where I'm saying like, this issue would have been another one where if I were doing like an individual review of it, it would have been like, and then Sonic runs through the city. He sure is running, and then Metal Sonic blows up the shit, and then it ends, and the review would have been like 4 minutes long, and it would have had like a 12-minute mental breakdown for me at the end. Like,
yeah. And then we also know Surge is alive, which is fine. That's good to know. So I guess really mostly we can just move on to the next one, because that'll kind of be the sum up of the arc of this 2-parter anyway.
Yes. So
we can do that.
Yeah. So I have Sonic number 52. You get a dope ass image of Metal Sonic and some fire at the start.
Yes, he looks quite good.
Yes, this issue is drawn by Evan Stanley. Looks very pretty. Yeah. So it's a big chase with Metal Sonic for a lot of it, and we get an interesting. I don't know how to feel about
it. Metal Sonic is defeated by boxes, and then he is defeated by water, and then he comes up, and we get probably the funniest scene in this entire like 6 issues, where it plays out like a comedy, where Belle comes in and she's like, "Ha! I told you you're a good person." Pause. See, you don't. Bam!
Dude, that is. Oh my god! I could. Ooh.
It looks like a joke.
It does. It does.
It's framed like a punchline.
A literal punchline.
Sonic, all he can say is just, "That's low, buddy."
Yeah. Yep.
Well, better go home to daddy. And it's like, okay, well, I guess that sure was an issue.
Yep. Well, we have more to talk about, Ian.
All right.
But so this stuff with Kit is interesting in that it's like, what is this? Like, what am I supposed to feel about this? And I guess just like sad. Like, I just like, geez, I sure hope Kit gets some therapy or something.
Editor's note, he won't.
He won't. Because like basically they get into this idea that like Kit needs to be told what to do. And so without Surge around, he's like, "Oh, okay, Mr. Sonic, you can tell me what to do."
Yeah.
And and so he helps them fight off Metal Sonic. And I will say, Kit's powers always look like super visually interesting. Like they always look really pretty.
Yeah, it's a neat idea. His like little Doc Ock arms.
Surge, gets herself out of the rubble, and she finds Starlin's glove that had the tricore in it. She throws it on a furnace. It burns. Looks really pretty. Yeah, and then what happens? There's a bit where Surge breaks into Eggman's base, and she finds this like energy thing that he was building. Yes. And Cubot goes, because she has Cubot, and she goes, I know 16 ways to break a man's neck. Which I just thought was a funny line.
Well, I also like the little joke they have where they're like, we need to like get some water or whatever, and then it's just like Belle in this really dopey pose of like, how's this? And she just like kicked the thing. And they're just like, they're like, that's good, Belle. She just looks like a dork, and I like it. So
yeah, and then we get the bit where again, it's like he just slaps the fuck out of her. Like, what? Like what? Oh. And then now we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because Sonic will have another interaction with Metal Sonic where he goes like, "Don't you think you could be good, buddy?" And he doesn't think back to this moment. Like
he's like, "I saw you hesitate to beat a woman, and I know that means there's some good in you, Robot Man."
Yeah, but anyway, then Surge has Eggman cornered, and that's where the issue ends. 53. What happens in 53? So basically, 53 starts where she won't kill him because plot, and like that's like, and not to be like a dick about it, but like that was one of those things where it's like, okay, like she's like, oh well, I'll get Sonic, but then I'll come back for you. It's like, just kill him. Like,
well, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know why the scene exists, because like it's not like there's situations where you're like, okay, I understand they had to get this scene to happen, therefore it's like, okay, like I guess Eggman's got to get away because they had to establish something. But no, he just like happens to walk in, and he's just like, oh well, anyway, shoot him, shoot him, Egg Pawns, the easiest thing to break. And she's like, I'll show you how strong I am. Remember before where I could just do that anyway? Now I can do it with song. And she says groovy. And then she destroys the robots. And it's like, I who cares? It doesn't make her look stronger. And then then she jumps on Eggman and she's like, ha ha ha, I'm so cool. Bye. The reason they need it, I guess, is so that they can have Eggman know that he wants his dynamo back, I guess. But he could just like find that out, it's just very weird. Like usually I'm someone who like can forgive like the idea of like, oh, the villain is like really like, oftentimes in stories you will have villains who it's like you could just kill the heroes, but the author does a good job of making you understand that these characters think they're so above everyone else that they're just not going to do it, right? Which is fine if you can do that well. I just don't think Surge comes across that way. Surge comes across as, I'm going to kill everyone, everything right now. In fact, she literally is going to do that when she sees Whisper, who she doesn't know. So
yeah,
it just feels off in that sense of like, this scene just feels like weightless, because it's like, oh, now she's got this cool new upgrade. She destroys Egg Pawns. Okay, now she sees Eggman, who's scared because she destroyed Egg Pawns, and she's like, I'm not going to kill you. Anyway, that sure was 2 pages. Bye. And then she leaves. And it's like, well, there you go.
Yeah. And then your favorite character, Starlin, shows up.
The boy, he shows up.
And he goes like, hey, you're a loser. And she zaps him, and he's a ghost, so he doesn't do anything. Although, interesting detail, he's missing his right glove.
Yeah, that's cool. And obviously they never show his face too, to add to like the creepiness.
I think they show it later, which I thought was weird, but maybe I'm mistaken.
No, I'm not sure. We'll get to it. But yeah, no, I mean, also we'll get to Surge's kind of like mental breakdown, but like her big thing for this story is like, obviously she's free of Starline. And then she's like, now I can finally do what I wanted to do, which is just beat up Sonic, because like she doesn't, like she says, I don't have a past, so no one will get to have a future. Then she was, basically mocked by Sonic, which the story will acknowledge. And so she's like, well, now I really want to kill that guy, And so the whole story, I think it's called like Overcharged. I forget what it's called. It's something about like overloading. And so this whole story, and she has now been giving a power where it is something to where like it gives her extra power, but what cost? And so like these kind of visions that we're seeing are starting to like set that up. So what do you think of this kind of like premise of like, because I can't remember, what were your thoughts on Surge before this?
I didn't really have any thoughts on Surge from what I can recall. I mean, she's
my big thing with Surge was always that I thought she was really interesting when we were learning about her, like her concept, and I like her kind of like, ooh, I'm in your face personality. But then 2 issues in, she's already like questioning her life, and then we get that scene where she learns that they don't know anything about her, so she's like, well, if I don't get to have a past, everyone dies, and I'm like, I just don't care. Like you didn't give me anything to like care that you want to do that in a villainous sense of like, oh, you're threatening, and also in like a sympathetic sense of like, oh, I want to see this character like come to the light. I want to see her get help, because I just don't really get it.
Well,
She's just big mad.
Yeah, I guess the thing is like, yeah, I do want to see her get help. Like, I want to see her get help more than I want to see her like fight anyone. Like, is the thing. Like,
yeah, then we could actually explore her character.
Yeah, because well, not even necessarily that. It's just like whenever she fights Sonic, it feels like he's beating up on a trauma victim. We'll get to a part later.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to it, but yeah, no, I agree. I mean, a lot of Surge and Kit feel like torture porn.
Oh, certainly. But yeah, so
I just wanted to bring that up because it was established here. Because now we're back with Kit, right?
Yes, and basically Sonic's like, yeah, Surge is dead as fuck, dude. And we get a series of panels, and it's done fairly well. Where he's like
this.
Yeah, he's like, look, I tried to save her, but like, and she was a proud. He doesn't say like, look, maybe she shouldn't have tried. She died trying to kill me. He goes, she was a proud fighter to the end. And like so it's just he's like descending into blackness, and Sonic's like speech bubbles are like getting blurred because like he's tuning him out, and it's just it's great.
And again, that's really good paneling, and I just wish I cared. Like I just wish that because like again, I think IDW, it just suffers from this thing of like a lot of the ways in which it wants you to sympathize with the character is all like on like in it like you could just tell someone like, oh, what's Kit's character? Kit's character is that he has no self-worth and attaches himself to basically a pretty evil and or just really messed up like partner who doesn't really care about him, at this point in the story. And so you go like, oh man, that like what you're supposed to feel here is like, wow, like Kit feels all this despair because he doesn't have an identity, and his identity is he attaches himself to people, but now he's feeling a sort of way about the fact that the person who he did attach himself to, who seemingly he didn't really have a real connection to, is taken away. And when you say it like that, that sounds really cool. Unfortunately, I never had a single moment where I cared about any of that, because I just never thought Surgeon Kit had any sort of dynamic that was like endearing, interesting, or fun, So when he's having this breakdown, I don't feel bad for him, outside of just the general like, oh man, it sure does suck. The life sucks for Kit. I hope this goes somewhere. We'll get to that. But and it's also, I just think, unfortunate that Kit, his whole idea, right, is that we're going to show how does he react to like being Sonic's kind of basically like his pet, basically. Like that's kind of how he wants to be treated. And you think like, oh, maybe we could get something from Tails, where like Tails kind of like sees that obviously Kit is kind of supposed to be like an alternate version of him. Maybe they could have a dynamic, and maybe they could have a relationship. But no, that doesn't really happen either. So
Nope.
Yeah, but we'll get to it. But yeah, I just wanted to like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of this arc is half-baked ideas, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But
now for the hype.
What?
Now for the hype.
Yes. So we get to Central City. Surge is wrecking shop, and who comes to stop her but Whisper?
And she looks really cool.
Yeah, Whisper's dope. And so we see that the Wisps are talking to her. She has the special Wisp talkie mask. And so something I thought was interesting is that does Whisper have like a medical condition that makes it so she only whispers? Because I remember in older issues, she could raise her voice. It just was an infrequent thing that she only did when she was under like intense emotional duress. But here she's under intense emotional duress, and they still make a point to draw like the little dots around her speech bubble to indicate like, no, she's like whisper shouting.
She's going, yeah.
Yeah, which is just weird.
Well, it's just one of those. It's one of those things where Whisper's character. If we continue doing these, you'll see it very frequently. Whisper is not allowed to like grow or change, because you would think, right? Because like Whisper before like all the trauma stuff, She was not like a quiet person, like very clearly. She has like a big grin on her face and all that kind of stuff. She can very clearly like raise her voice. That's a big point in the Tangle and Whisper thing when they show that. And so you would think that as Whisper has grown to open up to people, that maybe a really cool visual thing they could have done and they just refused to is now you read Tangle and Whisper and all that stuff and you see the little Whisper dots. But now that Whisper is more open and more confident in herself and more like less scared, she would not do that, and she would have normal speech bubbles, and that would be so cool. The idea of like using the speech bubbles to show her character development. She could still whisper from time to time. That would be really cute, but it's just one of those things where, I mean, literally, what is the reason that we're here right now? It is because, if you remember, in the campfire, in the campfire arc, it is literally that off screen, Whisper decided, I know I just went through character development, but I don't, where I realize that I need to rely on others, so because I fear that Mimic will hurt people. Mimic escaped. Well, something, this is realistic, so therefore I'm going to negate that, go away, and now I'm just back in the story, and I'm whispering, and I'm exactly the same as I was at the start. So, so it does like, when you see the scene, it's like cool because it's like, whoa, it's Whisper. Whisper's cool. She has a gun. That's fun. She has all her cool little wisps. But like, I just don't get a sense of like all it really you really get out of this fight with Whisper fighting Surge is that Surge is going to get a power up from this, and it just would be really cool if we could get something for Whisper's character, which we do not. So she is entirely a plot device for this fight, which could be fine, but considering Whisper has already been not doing too well in the story department, it feels like a waste that this entire issue is their giant fight. And nope, she doesn't get anything. So
yeah, well, I guess Whisper also feels like she's really just been a victim of like, how about we just torture this character, and like that will qualify that as death.
Let's steal her puppies.
Yeah. But yeah. So they fight and it looks cool. Like I said, like it's cool. Like it's a cool fight. It's not much really to say about it, but it's cool. And then
Great.
then Sonic's like, I guess I should go do something. And Kit is like curled up like a puppy. So he's like, well, Belle, watch that. I'll be back.
Big oof, man.
But so then they go and they're like, let's go, we're gonna fight Surge, and then Kit's like, I'm gonna go help Sonic, and so he runs away with his cool water powers.
Yeah, and there's a decent scene here with Belle, I would say, where Belle's kind of trying to again be like, no, like, you do matter or whatever. And then she gets crushed because Belle also is here to suffer. And nothing comes of this. Belle doesn't really get anything out of this. She just goes, no, Kit, be a character, please, I'm begging you. And he goes, and then he flies off. So, yeah. And again, like, it's just so fast, right? Where it's like, they're like, whenever because he gets really mad later, where he's like, well, which we'll get to, but like, his whole thing is he's like, I was betrayed by Sonic, and I'm like, bro, I don't care.
Yeah.
But we'll get to it. So that's that issue. By the way, the cover for this issue is incredible. Like the kind of like Play-Doh-y look to it, and then just how like you have like Surge is like this like wraith demon and lightning. That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. I only have one note for issue 54, and it's and the only reason that note exists is because I got to the end of the issue and realized I hadn't taken any notes. So
well, maybe that's a good thing. But is it good? Is it a good issue where you were so engrossed?
No. I mean, it's fun. You know, they fight and they attach Surge to some jumper cables and they drain her power.
We're gonna talk about the fact they beat her with a Home Alone device. But
do that.
It's kind of pathetic. She comes in and she slips on nails. And they put a bucket on her head, and then they're like, "Hey, you'll never be able to take this. Die by microwave."
Yeah. Well, but before that, Sonic uses a wisp, and that's cool. Has he done that yet in this comic? I don't know.
I don't believe so, and I do think that's really cool. Because it feels like that's one I always like these in stories where you know something the villain doesn't know. In terms of like, oh, the hero has like maybe a character shows up and you're like, oh, they don't know who they're dealing with. And I kind of like this where it's like she thinks she has a boost because she has the wisps. but then it's like, oh wait, Sonic can also use the wisp. That's really cool, you know. And then he does it once, and she catches it, and never mind. Moving on.
There is something interesting about this issue about the fact that like Sonic's on the back foot for a lot of it.
Because his foot's damaged.
Yes. So it's like, there's like there's like a fun sequence of pages where again he's just like running away and trying to lead her to the trap. But that's about it. And then they drain her power, and then
so let's look at this way. So this is because the whole thing is like Surge is on a rampage, right? So what did Surge do? She beat up Whisper, so that's not good, and she stole her wisps, so that's not good. So we got those two. Otherwise, I think she blew up like a street.
Yes.
So, you know, unfortunate for her. But this is one of those things where I'm not exactly sure. Is Surge supposed to be like seen as like a real threat? Because clearly she's not. She can be beaten by a Home Alone device. But also, like, maybe that's the point, right? Maybe the point is that Surge is going on this rampage, and I'm supposed to feel really bad in the sense of, like, what we were talking about. We were like, no, Surge, you need to come to the light. You're, like, hurting yourself, you know? Like, you don't need to do this. But I don't like Surge, so I don't really care.
Yeah. Well, again, it's just, like, it's just, I don't know. But anyway, so she gets drained, and Kit comes in and saves her.
He's like, you lied to me.
Yeah, so he's like, fuck y'all. And so he takes her and they leave. And then not much else happens. They go back to base and Sonic's like, we'll get the wisps. Then Eggman's like, man, this shit's crazy. I gotta figure out what's going on here. And then we get back to Surge and Kit, and it's like, yep, we sure are depressed.
Yes, they're very traumatized. But yeah, because now they're back in basically the base where they were raised, because like Kit just didn't know where to take them. And so obviously like Surge feels like surrounded by Starline, and then hey, we get this nice moment where Kit hugs Surge, and there's kind of like this little really well done panel where it's like they're just kind of these little kids kind of huddled in the corner, and like obviously, so like a big thing with this arc, which we'll get into, is a lot of the stuff going on between these characters is kind of the idea of like basically Surge and Kit are basically like child abuse victims. And Surge is trying to cope through crack, basically, and drugs, which end up doing not good things to her. So that's like a really heavy topic, right? To like kind of put in a Sonic comic and kind of like look into for these characters. But so far, I don't know if you've noticed, Sonic and Tails don't really have too many interesting or well done opinions about any of this. They are kind of just here, and so like obviously these issues sort of end up just kind of being about Surge and Kit and about their thing. But again, maybe I'm just a heartless monster and I don't want to feel this way. But when there's this scene where like she hugs Surge and Surge cries, it's like, man, I want to feel something here. And then there's like a silent panel and she kind of like, you know, basically begrudging is like, it's like, oh, you know, it's not like I really like you or anything, but you know, and then like, obviously they realize they have like a kinship or whatever. And I'm just like, man, I just so wish that Imposter Syndrome, instead of being about like, here's the big twist of these characters, I just so wish we had an arc where Surge and Kit thought they were who they were and they like grew to care about each other. Then they find out that, oh, I don't know, like I'm not whoever I was, right? But you know, the one thing that is real is that you and I have a connection. That's the only thing that is real here, is that Surge and Kit, you know, care about each other. That's one thing that Starline didn't make in terms of like they're like, you know, they're supposed to care about each other because they're designed that way, but they went through some story that bonded them together based on their own shared experience. And I just feel like that's so missing because Kit just continues to feel like a plot device to me. So I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, that thing is like, I think I feel something in this last page where like they're hugging and she's like, yeah, well, we're gonna work together and we're gonna do some stuff. But it's like
kind of feels miserable rather than like,
that's the thing, is that's like
compelling.
Because you can have it where like villains are like buddies with each other, they like each other, and that's like sweet. Like I've seen many stories do that where it's like, oh, those guys want to destroy the world, but oh, they care about each other, and isn't that's something? But here they're just like Kid, especially like, again, like Kid can't do anything without Surge, and so it's almost, especially on his side, less of a like, oh, I really care about this person, and more like I have a like codependent. I have a codependency on this person.
Yeah, and so maybe like, and maybe instead the idea is like, that's not supposed to be healthy or good. But, a lot of people, like, they'll just take what they can get as far as like human connection, right? So maybe that's the idea. And I just don't care. And I don't know why I don't care, because that sounds really interesting. But it just instead it just comes off as like, oh wow, that sucks. That's really depressing.
And that's the thing, right? Is like, I think I care, but I think I almost cycle back to not caring because again, it's just like the moment I start to dig into it, it's like, oh geez, like, and then it's like, what am I doing? Like, what am I meant to be rooting to be happening here? Like, I guess for them to become good guys, and I guess in a sense, I am rooting for that, just because again, so they can get some help. But I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, well, and then obviously you have like the whole thing with like Starline, where like Starline is like coming into her brain and being like, oh, like you're a piece of crap, and I'm gonna be better than you, and you suck, you'll never be anything. And I just don't care because I don't remember any time in their time working for Starline, he was either holding up the front, right, or he like pretends to care, right? So it's like there's not like Again, this is where this comic it just never understands that you have to like, yes, it is sad that this is happening to these guys, but why should I care that it's happening to Surge and Kit, right? Yes. Like as characters, because otherwise it just feels like, dude, did you know in real life children are abused? Well, now that's in the Sonic comic for the kids named Surge and Kit, doesn't that? I'm like, yeah, that sucks, dude. Like, yeah. But I don't care, I'm not it just sucks that it's just like, oh, this is miserable. Put this in the story. And I just think like, if you had a story just dedicated to what is Surge and Kit like before they learn the truth, what if they did have stories where they like let's say Starline, because he's just a big, evil bastard. What if they had like a story where like they do a mission for him and they come home and he's like, guys, I prepared like a meal for everybody, like, because he wants that idea of like kind of maybe being their like paternal person, or like maybe he's like, hey, Surge and Kit, if you remember, you always had to share a room, ever since you were young. And they're like, oh man, I remember that. And they have like fake memories, right? Of like, oh yeah, me and Kit used to fight over the bunk bed all the time, or the bed all the time, whatever. And he's like, well, you know what? Now that we got this Eggman base, Kit, come with me. And he's like, what? And it's like, this room's for you, buddy. And he's like, oh my gosh, I got my own room. And like, and Serge is like, oh, well, my room's better, blah, blah, blah. And like, you're just like, oh yeah, like we know who they are. And again, maybe you hold that off from the audience. Maybe we know obviously that Starline's doing some stuff, but maybe you don't reveal instantly that they are created. Maybe he found them, maybe whatever. Or maybe like you buy into, maybe you sell Starline being such a psycho that you're like, oh, maybe Starline does kind of care about them. And then that's when at the end of the story, you reveal all the lies. And I'm like, no, Surge and Kit, no. But it's like, oh, but you guys still care about each other. Remember you like fought at the mountain and you did the thing. No. This is real. But I don't feel any of that. I don't care about any of these characters. So like when Starline's doing this, I'm just like, yep, that sure is like a metaphor for abuse. But like, he was never doing this anyway. So like, it doesn't feel like a callback. It doesn't feel like, oh man, this reminds me of the moment when they first felt betrayed and they realized that their father figure hated them. It's just, no, it's just terrible. Like, it just feels bad, So I don't know. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, that makes complete sense. I pretty much agree with everything you just said. Like, I don't know. Again, it's just like, it just feels like misery for misery's sake. And that sucks. I don't like it.
Yeah. But hey, next issue.
Yes. So, and I was correct. This part you can see Starlin's eyes. So
yes, you were right. Yeah. So they probably just to make it more personal, of like, oh, he's back for real, which is fine.
Yeah. But all right. So 55. Do you know Sonic Prime is on Netflix? December 15th.
Oh no. Okay. This thing, so like I've not really cared about any of the fights up till this point. I do think Eggman versus Surge is like actually rad. We're gonna switch on this one because I like the part where like he basically just grabs her by the head and
yes, that part's
and then he tries to burn her alive with the exhaust thrusters, and I'm like, whoa!
I just didn't really remember it was I was like, basically. They're in the base, and Kit's like, all right, I'm going to feed all the power in the base to you, Surge. And then Sonic and Tails get there, and they're like, fuck, man, what's going on here? Metal Sonic's like, I got you, Sonic, woo. And Eggman's like, I got you, Tails, woo. And
Yes.
And then
Sonic goes, "Hey, buddy, I don't know if you noticed, but you did hesitate to beat up a child. Maybe friends?"
I hate
don't
this.
get it.
I
don't
hate
get
this
it.
so much. It's like, what are you doing? Because like that's the thing, right? It's like my first note is literally he backhanded Bell, Sonic. Like he didn't. I guess like just
big oof. Maybe he can get better.
I guess that's
get it.
Well, and that's the thing. Is like he goes, but you still put the brakes on Bell just for a second. You want to talk about like
Well, also, I want to remind you, this is the same Metal Sonic who Eggman was like, "You stupid idiot. He can't," like in the Metal Virus, he's like, "He can't disobey. I have made it so he can't disobey." And like, okay, right? Obviously, in like a lot of stories, it might be the idea of like, oh, maybe they can change. But Sonic's logic for why he can change is terrible. And also just irrelevant.
No, it's cool. I mean, well, it's at the point now where because Metal Sonic is such a non-character here, like if Metal Sonic could at least talk, that'd be one thing, right? But like because Metal Sonic is such a non-character, it feels like Sonic is like yelling at a toaster and going like, "You don't have to make toast, man. You can do whatever you want. You can be free." Like, or like
And then Dr. Toaster comes in and he's like, "Bro, I only make toasters. I don't know why you think you're gonna get cereal out of this."
Or like,
is he stupid?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? It's like it feels like Ian, I don't know if you've seen Steven Universe, but there's an episode in Steven Universe Future, spoilers, I guess, where Steven and Lapis go and they find these other gems who are like terraforming these planets after like the war's over, and they go like, "No, guys, you don't have to terraform planets. Like you can, like the war's over. Like you can be good now." And they're like, "But we really like terraforming planets. Like we really like destroying shit."
Why are you turning people into dinosaurs? You could cure cancer, but I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
Exactly. Yes, and that feels like every interaction Sonic has here is like Sonic in this feels like exactly what people who have not fucking watched Steven Universe think Steven is like in that show, where it's like. Because that episode I just described ends with them basically threatening those gems and go like, "Fine, stop." Because the whole episode is them going like, "No, but you like, could you just please be good?" And like trying to all these non-violent ways to convince them to be good, and ends ultimately with them like basically threatening them and go like, "Be good or we'll fucking murder you."
Yeah,
like
we'll bubble you.
Yeah, and but in this, it's like Sonic just keeps going like, "Okay, but like, are you sure you don't want to be good?
Well,
like, are you sure?"
And like here's the base problem with this is that it just can't happen. Like that's the like here's the thing, right? So in a story, right? Obviously, when I watch Spider-Man fight like a villain and he's in a tough spot, I can engage with the media and go like, okay, is the story selling me? Like all stories are lies, right? At the end of the day, it's not real. If you feel any emotion towards it, you're literally feeling emotions towards characters and places that don't exist. No, it's not real. It's a lie. But the lie is what we sign up for. We sign up to feel these things because they're abstractions of like real life stories or information or people. And that's what's enjoyable about them, or it's fantasy or whatever. And so if I see Spider-Man, he's on the back foot fighting Doc Ock, like if the story did its job, if it sold the lie, then I should feel, even if I know it's not true, that Spider-Man might die, right? Mm-hmm. And so when he succeeds, I go, "Oh man, he beat Doc Ock," like he overcame, like the famous one, right, where he's gonna drown or whatever and he needs to lift the rubble or whatever. Like obviously we know he's not going to drown, he's going to he's not gonna let his girl die, but like you feel that stress because Spider-Man feels that stress, and you care about Spider-Man because you believe the lie, and so you're like, "Oh man, Spider-Man, no, you can do it, don't give up." And so that's what makes it really great. With this story though, you have Surgeon Kit and all this stuff, and you have the Metal Sonic thing, right? We know for one. So here's the big lie: the idea of Metal Sonic can change. He cannot change. He is a Sega branded character in the most like Sega mandated time in the entire comics history. So no, he is never going to be able to become a good guy. You can do that with like Mecha Sonic because they don't give a crap about him, but that Metal Sonic is not going to do that. But so you have that, right, which is just always lingering in your mind of like Sonic, you can't change him. But at the very least, if Metal could talk, like you said, you could sell the idea that maybe Metal is taking in these things. Maybe he could change. If I believed what Sonic believes, then that could be cool. That could be compelling. But no, Sonic's big thing is just like, well, I don't know, just be good, dude. you know?
Yeah.
So it's just not compelling in any way you spin it. And so that ultimately leads you to the most cynical way of looking at any story, which is you go, okay, but seriously though, like stop bullshitting me. At the end of the day, he can't turn good because he is Metal Sonic, you know? And so like on every angle, it's not working, you know?
I will say, just going back a second, sometimes Spider-Man does let his girl die. There's a very famous example of Spider-Man letting his girl die. But no, I get what you're saying. Well, and also, but even more so, like, how frustrating would it be if, like, every time Spider-Man fought Doc Ock in a comic, he was going, "Hey, Doc Ock, are you sure you don't want to be good? Like, you should really be good." Like, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, I can obviously the reason Spider-Man does not kill his enemies is because deep down he believes they can be good, or at the very least he believes in the sanctity of life, and so that's why he, you know, puts them in jail, whatever. But I mean, as we'll get to in a second, Sonic doesn't even want to do that. But also, again, like, at least Spider-Man isn't constantly saying it. At least he isn't constantly trying to lie to me as a reader and saying, "Oh, the reason I'm not killing him," which is a question that you weren't asking. You weren't asking me, why is Spider-Man not killing? I am going out of my way to tell you is because I think he can be a good guy. And which is constantly making you as a reader go, no, he can't, and no, he won't. But regardless,
and I don't care enough about your relationship to care about the fact that, because obviously in some stories you know that there's a tragedy coming, so you should be invested in the idea of like, oh man, it can never be, right? But I don't feel that at all. Anyway, Surge gets high, very clearly, like that. Like I say that, but that is like clearly what they're going for. Where she like grabs the thing and she's like, "Dude, it's some good stuff." And there is one good joke I like where Eggman is trying to escape and he's like, "Ha ha ha, that Starline's such an idiot. I'll just like escape with my secret passwords." And they're like, "Ha ha, it worked." And he's like, "Ha ha, this is Starline. If this is Eggman trying to get through, you're a big dumb idiot. Die." And he's like, "Oh, well, that's not good for me."
Yeah, I really liked that. That part was fun. Also, why is this Chaos Drive so fucking big when she grabs it? It's like the size of her head.
Yeah, looks good though.
It does look good, but yeah. Wait, I forget. What are the green? Okay, no, this is actually smart. The green ones are the fast ones. I'm trying to figure out because I know Red's power. That was the only time they tried to make the colors make sense for the Chaos Drives. Because like Fly is like purple or something for some fucking reason. Anyway, not important. Basically, yeah. So like you said, they fight, and then so Metal goes to save Eggman, and then they all corner Surge. And so okay, again, Mr. I Love Freedom Sonic is teams up with Eggman to fight a trauma victim. It's great. I love that.
Like, he definitely knows by now. And again, we're gonna get to this, but apparently Sonic thought she was joking and that she was just being a big baby. We'll get to that. But
what?
Like what's that?
What?
Yeah, in the next issue, there's the part where he's like, okay, I admit, like I didn't get it before, but now I do. Just be good. It's like Sonic. We'll get to it though. But like the thing I hate is that is leading into that. It's like you said, where it's like Sonic comes in. What's the first thing he does? He's like, "Hey, Surge, I'm gonna kick that ass," and I just stepped on it, and it's like, what is happening? Why is this going on? And like he just has this punchable face where he's like, "Hey, trauma victim, want to get beat up some more?" It's like, Sonic, like, can you help or do anything, please?
Yeah, like even if Sonic went like between them, he was like, "All right, everyone, just calm down, right? Like Metal, like you two don't fight each other. Like let's just like again, Mr. I Love Freedom, Mr. I want everyone to get along, Sonic." Like that would be better than again him going like, "Yeah, I'll team up with Eggman to beat you up." Like, well, and that's the weird thing too is that this leads us to the fundamental problem here, is that in most stories, you would have the hero go, "Okay, you want to fight my villain, I want to fight my villain. We should team up, and then afterwards, like whatever problems you have with me, we'll sort it out, right?"
But
like,
instead, he makes that deal with Eggman.
Yes, and the reason they do that, so like, and then that's in a lot of stories, that's every like Spider-Man Punisher crossover, Spider-Man Wolverine crossover, whatever. It's like, I don't agree with your methods, but like we have a common enemy, so let's team up for now. But the problem is in those crossovers, the general idea is like Punisher wants the guy dead, Spider-Man wants the guy in jail, and that's where the conflict comes from. The problem here is they can't do that because Sonic doesn't want Eggman in jail. Sonic can't go, Surge, help me team up with me to stop Eggman and put him in jail. And Surge can be like, oh, well, I want Eggman dead. Because Sonic is like, well, Eggman's not doing anything right now in this moment that I need to stop. So I'm whatever. Eggman's fine. So it's like,
which by the way leads into one of the just most amazing scenes ever, which is that Sonic goes into the room where Surge and Kit were made. And it also looks like there's like other bodies in some of these. But he goes in there and Eggman comes in and he gives like a whole page speech about how he's like, bro, kidnapping children and turning them into like experiment mutants and ruining their lives. That is so cool. I should have thought of that first. In fact, I might do that when I get home. I'm thinking about it at least. Starline, he sucked, but like this was really cool. And like they literally say he's talking about kidnapping and brainwashing people, and he goes, "I know that, but I would never do such a thing. You just did, not at all." Or he's talking about like giving him credit. And he goes, "Not at all. Admitting the skill of a bested enemy only proves my brilliance." So again, Eggman's whole speech here is like, "I love killing and subjugating children and turning them into weapons. That's so cool. Can I do that every day?" And then Sonic's reaction is he goes, "I've heard enough. Let's get this over with." Yeah, Sonic beat his face in. What are you doing?
Yeah. Again, that's problem. We went on a whole tirade about this. You can go watch the other thing. But again, it's just like, what's the end goal here? Like,
what is the point? Is it to make Sonic look like the most evil man alive? Like, I'm over exaggerating, but is it supposed to make him look like is the idea that Sonic is just like, been there, done that, you know, I've beaten bad guys before, dude, like trauma or whatever, Shadow, who, it's like, is that the idea? Is it supposed to be that Sonic's like grown cynical? I don't think so. So why does he have no reaction to anything?
No, well, and I think, I guess if I were to try and put some reason to it, maybe Ian Flynn and Evan Stanley and everyone writing this are going like, okay, well, this is in the game universe. Sonic has never put Eggman in the prison in the games. So we need to logic a reason for him to not do that.
Just don't bring it up.
Just don't bring it up, first of all. And second of all, they've never even really had the opportunity to put Eggman in prison in the games. Like, it's never been a thing that's come up in the games because it's a short form, like, story medium. When you're in a long form story medium,
Eggman either gets away or Sonic tries to kill him and lets him fall 1 billion miles to Earth, which he does multiple times.
Yes. And so in this, it's again, like, that's really the biggest problem here. Is like, it's Sonic teaming up with Eggman to fight Surge feels gross. Like, is the thing. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Like,
especially when the guy goes, "Man, I love killing children," and Sonic's only reaction is, "Meh. This annoys me slightly."
Yeah. So
he has more of a reaction to hearing he made them, and he's like looking at it, and he's like disgusted. It's like, oh my gosh. And then he goes, you say that like you were impressed, and you don't see his face. So it's like, oh, are we building to something, right? And Eggman just keeps talking. He keeps talking. Okay, is Sonic gonna do or say anything about it? I've heard enough.
Yeah, it's
like, Evan, Adam drew this issue. Is this another, like, are people not communicating? Would not the easiest thing be that, like, Sonic looks down and, like, clenches his fist or whatever? He's like, I've heard enough. Let's just get this over with. Like,
yeah, no, it's...
What?
It's just... I feel like I'm talking in circles here, but yeah, it just feels gross. I don't like it.
And then the final shot, I remind you, is that he comes in and he goes, "Listen, I don't want to fight you guys. Hand over the doohickey. We can all walk away." And then they attack, and Sonic's face is, "Yeah, I'm gonna kick her ass. Let's go." I'm like, Sonic, please die.
Yeah, no, it's. Ugh. I mean, here. I guess credit where credit's due. The final page, out of context, looks fucking dope.
Oh, but Adam Bryce Thomas is a great artist.
Yeah, he sure can draw a comic.
All right, time for the finale.
Yep. 56. Sorry. Who drew this? Was this Evan Stanley? I think so.
Yeah, it is Evan Stanley. It looks really good.
Yeah. They're fighting. Tails is fighting Kit. Metal Sonic and Sonic team up to fight Surge. And there's a fun bit where, so they've been setting up this reoccurring thing throughout the story, where basically Metal, there are multiple times where Metal's like trying to do something, and then Eggman's in trouble, and so he has to rush to help Eggman. I think it happens twice before this. And so Surge is like, all right, I'm going to go kill Eggman. And Metal, of course, rushes to his aid. And so then she like clotheslines him when he goes to do that.
Yeah, it was all the part of the plan. And then she uses metal to beat Sonic.
Yeah, she uses him as a battery. She drains his black shield. It's called the black shield, right? I think.
I think so.
Yeah, and so she dashed towards Sonic. There's a big boom. And there is a fun bit where Eggman's like, Sonic, get out of the water, because there's a bunch of water that spills in after they do this. And he has to physically pull Sonic out of the water so he doesn't get electrocuted.
Yeah, it's just very funny looking. Like, I think in a good way, of like a nice bit of comedy of like, just Eggman helping Sonic and be like, you dumbass, get out of there, get up here, puppy dog.
Yeah, but so Tails is talking to Kit, and he's I don't remember exactly. Basically, he's like, just chill the fuck out, dude. And Kit's like, Kit doesn't say anything, but he stops fighting.
Yeah, he stops.
And there's actually a really good bit. I really like this bit. And I don't know if what I took from it is what they were trying to say, especially given what Surge says after this. But so basically Sonic's like, hey, look, like, we can work this out. Like, half the people I know have tried to kill me. We can figure this out. And she's like, no, you have to die. Like, I have to kill you. And there's a bit where Sonic goes, Starlin's not here to make you do anything. Freedom is right there waiting for you. Just take it. And there's where she goes, there's a ... bubble, and then she goes, I can't. And it's a beautiful really panel where she's all like rainbow colored, and she's clenching her fist, and she's like clearly like exhausted. And what I originally took from this was I thought it was a really interesting, very real idea of like, because that's the case for a lot of people, where it's like, freedom is right there, or like, a better life, or whatever you want, or like, just, it's right there, but there's just something in you that stops you, that holds you down, and that's a real thing. And I don't know if it's exactly what they were going for, because then Sonic falls in the water and she goes like, no, I have to kill you first because I was made to kill you. So like, I can't be free as long as you're alive.
Well, she has like a good line. She goes like, it's in my blood, my bones, my brain, like that. Yeah. Like it. Yeah. And she's like literally like strangling him basically.
Yeah. It's great. And it all looks great. Colors are all great. And then she just overloads the machine. It just bursts and she passes out. And the expression on Sonic's face, he's just like, whoa, that was heavy.
Okay, so I want to bring this up. So I don't know if you know about this. So some people believe that Surge killed Sonic there. And then like, basically like he just kind of like, not like killed, but like he's mostly dead. Like the idea that
like heart stopped, right?
Oh yeah, his heart stopped. People think that his heart stopped there, and then that's like what that panel's for. And then like, that's why he's like, that kind of thing. So what do you think of that theory?
I don't think it really matters. I think that's cool. I think that's a cool interpretation. Is not. I mean,
it's clearly up to interpretation because it's completely silent. He does gasp, right? So the idea could be that is he just so shocked, or is it like it's like like for a split second, like cause, I mean she's like frying him basically. I
think that's good. That's certainly a cool interpretation. I got shock from it. I got more. Like,
I did too. But I mean, it's a cool idea.
But that is interesting. I mean, I guess he has a lot of electricity running through him. I would be surprised if that was what we were meant to take from it. But again, cool interpretation.
Yeah, and then I also want to say again, like it seems like, Sonic literally says, "What happened to you guys was seriously heinous. I get that now." Huh? Nani?
Yeah, now. It's now. You get that.
Yeah, but okay, so. Let's finish the issue and then we can talk about the broader points. So yeah, then what happens?
Yeah, so then Tails helps get Sonic out of there. And then Eggman's like, Metal, because Metal turned back on at some point. He's like, go get my thing and kill right? Oh no, he says collect the dynamo cage and the Tenrec. So basically like he doesn't want I guess he wants to use Surge now.
Wow, free child slaves that I can mutilate, like I said earlier.
Yep. And so, but Kit comes in and, Kit is OP. Like, it's interesting. But yeah, regardless. So
Kit, he has a really good speech where he basically, well, okay, I want to finish the issue because I want to give my big speech about this issue and why I kind of really like it. But,
yeah. So,
so continue.
Basically, he's like, but Sonic's like, whoa, Kit, you helped us. And he's like, I don't give a shit about you. Like, I'm here for
Yeah.
Surge. All of you suck. We're leaving. Get buried. And so he brings down the complex. And so they all make a run for it.
Well, and there's a really great moment here where Sonic he's got to carry Tails, and he tries to reach for the and it's like glass, and he starts slipping, and then Tails grabs the thing and like pulls him up, and it just like in a very silent way shows like their bond and like why they need to like be there for each other. And it's really effective. I really like that moment.
Certainly. I liked it as well. But yeah, so they get up, and there's a moment where they go, where Tails like, do you think Eggman's like, and the implication is like, do you think Eggman's dead? And he goes like, and Sonic's like, no. But again, it's weird. And I guess you said we'll get into more broad strokes at the end. But like, he's like, no, I don't. Like, and he looks upset. It's like, do you want him to be free or not? Like, make up your mind. But so yeah, he gets out, and he's like, well, I gotta go do more evil stuff.
Yeah, we had a truce, right? And you wouldn't break that, right? And then Eggman and the Sonic has a really, really good expression. And then he goes, fine, we need to get the wisp back anyway. Next time, Eggman.
Next time, nothing will change.
Yeah, well, so, okay. So here's what I want to say about this issue. This issue I both love and hate. So the reason I love it is it basically feels like Evan Stanley giving commentary on how much of a tool Sonic is. Like, very openly. Like, because the whole idea is that Tails tells Kit at the start, he says, hey, trust Sonic. Sonic will fix this. Sonic knows what he's doing, right? And then what happens by the end? He does not fix it. He cannot change Surge's mind because it's too late. It is too far gone. And Sonic didn't. And Sonic even is openly admitting, I made things worse. Like, I did not understand what you were going through. And we got off on the wrong foot. And Sonic's reasoning too is just like, it's just logical. Just like, do it. Just be good. You don't have to be bad. And she has like, again, a very like human response of like, she doesn't feel like she can. Cause again, it's all overwhelming her. Then you have the ending, right? And Kit gives this amazing speech where again, it feels like he's talking about this narrative that of Sonic's morality, where it's like, you don't need me or Surge. You want us. All that matters is what we can do, how you can change us, so you can prove that your way is right. I'm going where I'm needed, and that's where Surge. I'll bury you all here, along with our past. So literally, like, calling out, like, Sonic, you don't actually care about Surge, which he has proven as far as, like, how he treats villains. You just want to prove that you're right. Like, you know? Like, and it's just like that kind of thing. So then you have, but then you have the ending, right? Where it's like Sonic's coming out and Sonic's in this really low moment and he's got to save Tails. And then Tails is the one who watches his back in the same way that Kit is watching Surge's back. So there's like a parallel there. But like the way Kit leaves, it doesn't come across as like a big evil leave. It feels like, stop hurting us. We are leaving, you know, don't hurt the one I love anymore. Right. And then you get to the ending. And so then you get to this ending and Sonic has this, he's really mad. He's really mad at everything that has just happened. And then you have the next time Eggman, right? So what it feels like is this feels like a turning point. This feels like in a story where Sonic is allowed to grow and change. This is where he realized, and I don't so remember, this is issue 56. So 56 issues into this comic, Sonic has yet to save a single person. Like his moral thing. Every time he has done so, he is proven wrong. And now in the ultimate version of that with OC characters who you can save, Sonic is shown that I was too late, I was too stubborn, and that some people can't be saved because their damage and their hurt is too deep, and I did nothing to stop that, and I fucked up. And so it's like, oh, in a story, right? You would go like, oh, this is where Sonic changes and he grows. But also, you're looking at it and going, why is this here at all? Why do we have a comic that's, I guess, Sonic's character arc, because he realizes he's a dumbass. Like he should like his moral philosophy does not work. It actively hurts people. And we watch in this story as two characters who are presented as child victims. Sonic cannot save two child victims because he is too much of an asshole. That is what the story is saying by like every measure, every metric, because you're not supposed to think Kit's evil. You're not supposed to think Surge is evil. You're supposed to feel sorry for them. And then Sonic is openly talking about how he fucked up. And the ending of the story, right, is that Sonic kind of realizes that and he goes, next time, Eggman. So on that note, I really love this issue because it feels like Evan's like head on tackling how much of a terrible person Sonic is, or at least in terms of not terrible person, but in terms of like how like he doesn't realize what he's doing and how like flippant he's being and how that is hurting people. And now we can address that. And that's really cool. But on the other side, one, why is this Sonic's character that he learns he's a bad person? And two, spoiler alert, Sonic doesn't learn that he's a bad person. What he means when he says next time Eggman is minor spoiler for the next arc. When they fight Eggman, there's a part where he goes, "Oh, Sonic, you shouldn't blow up my big robot. I couldn't help stop it." And he goes, Eggman, no. And then he beats Eggman. So what Sonic learned, his version of next time Eggman, is that he just does what any good hero in any other story does.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Why is that? What's happening? so like, I both love this issue because it feels like it is finally the comic being self-aware, but I hate it because it's just continuing this idea of like, he's just bad at his job, and he just actively hurts people with his carelessness, and the story is addressing that. The story is making a clear parallel that these are abuse victims, and they are saying Sonic cannot save abuse victims. Fuck you. And it's like, why is this the story?
Yeah, that couple things. First of all, I didn't realize that like it seems all these issues were written by 51 was written by Flynn. But the other ones all seem to be written by Stanley. So anytime I said Flynn in this, just replace that with Evan Stanley.
Yeah.
First of all. Second of all, yeah, I think also part of the problem is like, if this were like, even let's say for the sake of argument that your original interpretation of this, or like the better interpretation of this, quote unquote, you know, where it's like Sonic realizing like I fucked up, I suck, like I need to like there's something wrong with like the way my philosophy. That works if this is like a fresh Sonic, if this is like a younger Sonic, this is a new Sonic. This is our Sonic. This is the Sonic who has been through all the Sonic games.
Yeah, allegedly, according to Sega and Flynn, this is the Sonic you love from all the games.
Yeah, and canonically now, like this is not even like he has gone through the same things as that Sonic. That is the exact same Sonic. So yeah, I don't know.
I don't accept it.
I mean, I accept it in the sense that's like, sure, whatever. You'll throw in a line about Whisper in the next game, sure. But like, I just
mean like I don't accept it as in like they're clearly not the same person. This is terrible.
No.
You know,
well, no.
I don't understand.
Well, Game Sonic doesn't even feel like this when he's being written by Flynn. Like, is the weird thing. But yeah, no, this issue's fun. Like they're like it's got a lot of cool art. Like I said, like there is some interesting character stuff there. I think Surge is like that one bit with Surge is really good. I like I said at the beginning, like I enjoyed reading this, like these 6 issues. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. We've talked Sonic's character to death. I don't really have much more to say about it. It's just, it is what it is, and the story is.
I want to tell you something real quick. So Surgeon Kit, right? They kind of went out on a pretty dire note, obviously. Surge literally fried her brain and passed out. And she's like her whole thing is she's like, I want to kill Sonic. So next time we see Surgeon Kit, it would be really nice if the story built off of that in like a immediate way in terms of like, how is Surgeon Kit doing? Like, what are they feeling? Like, what's the vibes? You know, maybe they get some fanfare of like, oh wait, these guys are back. Cause I mean, they ended the story like horribly miserable, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's terrible for them. So hey, minor spoiler, next time we see Surgeon Kit, it is literally that Surge is just back. She's acting like she used to. And we find out, what brought them here? So what's the deal? And what the deal was is that they just went back to the Starline base and they just are eating like freeze dried food or whatever, like, you know, just like food packets or whatever. They're like, man, I'm hungry. Are you hungry, Kit? Yeah, I think Sonic has food. So like they're just back to normal. None of the trauma like went anywhere in terms of like a direct. It's just like they reset, like they slept it off, whatever.
Oh jeez, but yeah, no, but that is.
So, I mean, this ended up turning into a big rant again, but I can't help it.
No, that's fine. Like that. Look, it wouldn't be a very good podcast if we didn't have anything to say. But yeah, that's the Surge saga. You know.
Yeah.
And oh god, this is an hour and 10 minutes. How the fuck did we do this?
I'm a chatterbox. That's why.
how does this happen? But look, point being, yeah, like I said, I enjoyed these 6 issues. I stand by my cheeseburger comparison at the beginning, where it's like, yeah, it's fun. You know, it's fun seeing some stuff. Again, it's not fun. And I think honestly, a lot of the broader implications of Surge and Kit aren't as apparent when you're necessarily reading it as when you're discussing it. The Eggman stuff felt gross to me when I was reading it. I never liked that. But you know, overall, I didn't. Honestly, I am looking forward to reading more.
I would like to catch up.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you want to do that next time then?
Yeah, might as well. Because again, the more we can push ourselves between having to redo Eggman Empire so it feels fresh, the better. So
that's fair. That's fair. I really should put out like an update video then explaining that, because we always wait until the very end of these to go like, oh yeah, Eggman Empire. So
yeah, you could probably make it like a channel post or whatever. But
that would probably be easier.
I guess next time we'll read more of this.
Yeah, but I don't know. Ian, plug your shit.
I'm Ian Waffles. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Ian Waffles. And thanks for having me as usual.
Yeah, I guess one last thing I would say is, like, if you are a fan of IDW, because I know guys, again, we've been very vicious towards IDW in the past. I hope you got something from this. I hope, because I would not blame you in the slightest if our last IDW discussion you kind of tuned out because we were too mean. I hope that this time we were a little more nuanced.
Yeah, I was gonna say I tried to like channel the rage into like genuine discussion rather than just like insulting it, you know. And if I did a bad job, bring it up so I can do better. But I would definitely love a discussion about this issue these issues because, you know, at the very least, it's something to talk about. And about interesting subject matter. So even if it's a failure for me, I think it's still interesting to discuss and talk about and see what other people think. So definitely, please leave comments and tell us what you think.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that we're in the minority, right? And it's like people seem to generally like this, and like I don't know, but so please comment below like what you thought about all this. But yeah, I'm Silver1. You can find me here. You can find me on Twitter, but I'm trying to not use Twitter as much, so I guess you can follow me. Bye.
Bye.